Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Super Paranormal Chronicles. And today I am over the moon to have paranormal royalty in the room. We have the one and only Barry. Barry, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Lee.
Yeah. So I need to get the elephant in the room out of the way first. I'm very disappointed to see that you've not wore your pink tutu or your pink bow.
I've got the pink tutu. It's upstairs in the wardrobe. We can grab that one if you want.
So obviously people know you from Help My House is Haunted. But what I'd like to do, I'd like to start at the very beginning of your paranormal career. So we'll crack right in. And if you could tell me how you got involved with the paranormal and some of your very first experiences, please, I
Wow.
should say.
Well, I mean, I've had paranormal experiences since I was very, very small. I think 5 years of age is when I vividly remember my first paranormal experience of seeing a man walking through my cousin's bedroom and straight through the wall. So it was from that moment on that I knew there was something a little bit strange taking place in the world. But I've always had this curious fascination with the world of the paranormal, and I come from a family of spiritualists, I guess. I mean, my nan was a palm reader. She was a mystic in her own right, right? And she used to be able to tell people what they were in a previous life just by
Oh, wow.
touching their ankle. I think that's pretty cool.
That is
So yeah,
amazing.
really interesting. So yeah, I guess that the experiences that I've had as a young person and then into my teens, um, paved the way for me to be, I guess, into the world of the paranormal. I graduated university and I built a website and a forum called the Ghost Finder Paranormal Society. So that really kind of spiraled out of control in a few years. And we had lots and lots of members from all over the place and people contributing to what then was actually kind of like a bit of a fun subject that was quite niche and there wasn't that many people around doing it. Back in the day, I'm talking when there was probably 100 paranormal teams. Now we've got like 10,000 paranormal teams. So it was at its birth almost, and it was just a brilliant way of kind of using that curiosity and the experiences I've had as a kid and developing them further because I wanted to find out, is there life after death and what it is that I've actually seen and witnessed, and therefore answer the question I had was, do ghosts exist? Are there such things as spirits? And I'm still on that path. I'm still on that mission. So I've come a long way since the age of 5, and now I'm 46 now. So in 41 years of having a passion and a curiosity for the supernatural and for kind of investigating places that I've always wanted to investigate, despite them being notoriously haunted or famously haunted, as it were, but also having the privilege of investigating people's homes and helping them with their own hauntings. And that is what I do now, and that is my job. And I'm lucky enough to be considered a professional paranormal investigator because I, I do this for a living. It's my job.
And I think that's like, yeah, everybody's dream is to have a job like yours, especially everybody that's involved with paranormal investigating. And I've been in Canada for 12 years and been in the UK. There was only one TV show on at the time with Yvette Fielding, doing that kind of thing. And it hadn't kind of like launched a big, what's the word? Yeah, platform as what it is now.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
people like you that I think have actually encouraged layfolk to actually go out and join teams or go on investigations and to find what the paranormal world involves for that individual.
I think you're spot on, Lee. I can tell you now, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to all those people out there, but for the last 20 years, I've been delivering paranormal events, public events, and in between the other jobs I've been doing, and lots of people that turned up on those events are now running their own paranormal groups. They've come on events, seen how I do things, really enjoyed themselves, had a look at some of the equipment that was being used and the explanations, descriptions, asked questions, obviously, followed me for a period of time, and then decided, well, now I want to go do that for myself. And I know for a fact there are dozens of people out there with their own groups now, and I come across them from time to time, and I'm thinking, I recognise you. Oh, yeah, you came on one of my events about 18 years ago. It's that kind of thing. So maybe it's a good thing. I've inspired others to take up this pursuit of paranormal progress and pathways and research. Some people call themselves investigators or researchers. I like that. It's good. I've inspired people to do what they love doing, and I feel grateful.
Yeah, because when we created our team, we were adamant that we was going to do things by the book per se. So yeah, if you've got noises in your attic, we were going to check for rodents, and we're going to look at the EMF, we're going to look at the black mold, we're going to look at any other radiation and stuff like that to eliminate every possible thing that we could before we put our paranormal hats on.
Yeah. And that's
And
exactly right. I've always taught people that go in, with an objective mindset, look for the most logical, rational explanation first, because 9 times out of 10, there probably is. A very small percentage of alleged hauntings are genuine. It's like genuine, not because they're being fraudulently, provided to us. It's that there are explanations for sounds of footsteps, creaky floorboards, temperature fluctuations, people's moods, or the feelings of being watched, as you well know. You're looking at electromagnetic fields, you're looking at temperature changes that have some rationale behind them because of the type of property you're in, breezes, open windows, cracks in the doors, all that kind of stuff. There's always things that you can look at first and consider before ever turning to a paranormal explanation. And you might not see me do that on screen as part of my job, but it does happen. I do base readings and I do my own recce and I'm checking the location out. But I get provided with cases that I'm going to investigate that have been verified and all the due diligence has been done. I get asked this question a lot. Barri Ghai, why is it every single case you go into and do on Help My House is Haunted, there's evidence of paranormal activity? That's because the production team get presented with 100 cases and we choose one. So out of
yeah,
every 100 cases, there's possibly one there that needs our help genuinely, and maybe more than that, and I'm sure there are, but only one that stands out for, I guess, for entertainment purposes, because the commissioners and the production company are looking for the most entertaining or potentially entertaining case to provide entertainment for the masses. For me, I don't give a shit. All I care about is that the case is genuine and there is evidence of paranormal activity that is verified, tangible enough for me to investigate using the proper techniques, experiments, and equipment. And also the very fact that I need to be able to go in there and say, well, Ian, you like the sniffer dog? Go in there, check this out, and come out and tell us what's going on.
yeah, because it's funny you should mention that, because we went to a home location just before Christmas, and this girl was absolutely obsessed to say that my house is haunted, there's spirits all over. So we thought, okay, we'll turn up. So we did a pre-investigation. We turned up. We'll do the interview and we'll do some baseline obs. And she went, "There's one on the sofa there now," and it's sort of like, what are you using? Oh, I'm using my cell phone. No, but what are you using on your cell phone? And she went, "Oh, Snapchat."
Oh,
It's
right.
like, and it was picking up the crease from her like leather sofa and tried to make it into her face. And it's like, okay, how do I put this politely? Yeah, Snapchat is not a paranormal app. It's just an app that creates like profiles for people's faces. Yeah, but it's like we could not convince her. So it was like, okay, yeah. Unfortunately, this is
Yeah.
not the case.
No, I
And it
agree
was,
as well. It
yeah,
is very difficult to convince those that want to believe that they have a paranormal case, they have a haunting, they have a problem. It's difficult to provide them with, real answers. I always struggle with that. But if you explain things properly, you take the time to explain things and try to demonstrate so that you are providing a real example, it helps, and it does help. I mean, the orb debate is obviously something. I'm not going into the orb debate with people right now, but I have come across this daily for the last 20 years. So I refuse now to even entertain images and emails that are sent to me and messages, DMs or whatever, when people are saying, please, can you have a look at this video? I think there are spirits because they're all flying all over the screen. I don't want to keep regurgitating the same information over and over again. So sometimes sometimes I look at them, sometimes I ignore them, and that's not being rude. That's because I'm a very busy person. I don't have time to
Yeah,
reply and respond to every single message that comes my way. Even my management team, they don't do it either. So it's a matter of saying, you kind of have to pick your battles almost. It's like, well, I'm not going to win that one because if I provide them with the real answer, they're never going to talk to me again. So
that's
maybe,
it. Yeah,
yeah, got
yeah.
to be careful.
Yeah, and it's good that you say that, because last night we set up our DVR system and we had 6 cameras, and because it's in a mill, you're going to have dust, and
Yes.
every camera had got orbs left, right, and center. Now, a lot of people would go, "Oh, this is all spirit activity," but you have to kind of keep your feet firmly on the floor to go, "Look, we're in a mill. It's a dusty mill. You're going to get this kind of environment. It's not necessarily spirits." And that's a very difficult argument to win, like you've just said. And the amount of times that people go, "Oh, you're a ghost hunter." "No, I'm a paranormal investigator." There's a difference, and they don't know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And you probably get that kind of comments every day that people go, "Yeah, it's absolute BS." But okay, so what
All the
evidence do you have? Yeah,
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 absolutely. You're never going to convince everybody, but that's not my job. My job is to provide the audience that enjoy watching the show with the tangibility and the evidence that backs up why we're in that property, what we're doing, what we've managed to achieve at the end of it.
yeah,
I mean, that's my passion. You see, I'm passionate about evidence. You know, the case is good, great, but I want to provide everybody, the homeowner, obviously, with real evidence that they're going to go, wow, oh my God, and validation. Because however compelling evidence is, it has to be backed up by the historical narrative. It has to be backed up by anecdotes and personal experiences. And when you bring all of that together, you have a very well-rounded case that is powerful and compelling.
exactly. And that's the key. Yeah. At the end of the day, we are here to help people. We're not here to prove the existence of spirits and ghosts. And like I
Correct.
say, we're both on the same wavelength about that. So, you mentioned Ghost Finder Paranormal Society, and you mentioned that it went from strength to strength. So, can you tell us about a couple of significant cases that you have within GPS?
God, there's so many. Okay, so long time ago. I mean, Phil's over here actually. I can probably shout one over. Phil's on my team as well. But we've had lots of cases where I remember one specifically, one that stood out actually. It was in East Sussex in the United Kingdom. It was a farmhouse, and the report was that this woman who owned this beautiful 17th century farmhouse had seen a an apparition several times on the upstairs landing, the stairs, the bathroom, and the bedroom area of the property. And she really wanted some kind of answers and some validation to some extent. But she also said, my dogs are scared. And those are 2 dogs that used to sleep by the fireplace, and that they were always focused their attention on the fireplace area of the downstairs part of the property. So we investigated this case. It was a beautiful property. The homeowner left us alone. We set up DVR cameras. I mean, back in the day, I used them. I mean, we're talking probably 18 years ago. And I had 4 cameras running into a DVR system and monitoring them constantly. And it was a case where nothing really happened for the first couple of hours. Taking baseline readings and trying to feel if there was any changes, any physiological effects to us, taking photographs, I remember distinctly. And then I walked into the master bedroom, and at the time, I actually had a K2 meter in my hand, if I remember. I had a K2 meter in my left hand, and I walked into this master bedroom. And as I entered the threshold to the room, the door was open, by the way, from the hallway. The room was filled with what I can only describe as static from like an old CRT TV. So we're old enough to know that television screens were concave and round and big and fat, and you used to rub your hand on the screen in the morning and get the fuzziness.
You speak for yourself about being old enough. I don't
All right.
remember those at all.
So that static, that feeling, that fuzziness, that's kind of like furry and fuzzy. The room was filled with it. The
Wow.
room was filled with it to the point where it was in my eyes and my nostrils and my mouth, and I could feel it all over my skin. And I walked into the room, and all the hairs on my body stood up, and I was expecting to see or experience a full-bodied apparition any moment, something manifesting itself. And it was like that. The K2 meter, I remember, was at red, almost so that told me that there was a huge change in the electromagnetic field that I'd entered. But more importantly, it was an electrostatic field because I could feel it, I could taste it, I could even smell the discharge of electricity. As soon as that happened and I was pulling it off my skin, thinking it was like cobwebs, it disappeared. But it was so meaningful for me and such a palpable experience that I remember thinking that stood out, and it was a validation to me that yes, whenever we're looking for spirit, using something like a trifield meter or a mel meter will give us a really good understanding of the factors and variables that are considered when looking for paranormal activity, because I know firsthand that there is an increase in the electromagnetic field, the energy around us, but also static and electrical energy. There is a
Yeah.
combination. So whether they go hand in hand with every case, I don't know. But I know that from then on, that was something I was looking for all the time. Other paranormal investigators are just following suit because they've heard that's the case. But I know it's the case because I've experienced it. So that stood out for me. I mean, that's just one example of some of the cases that we dealt with back in the day. But the Ghostfinder Paranormal Society was a group of like-minded individuals like me from all over the place. You know, we all came together because we were fascinated with the world of the supernatural and wanted to gather tangible evidence, you know. And it was brilliant. It was a learning experience for everybody. And we managed to investigate lots of different private locations and famously haunted locations across the United Kingdom for many years. And it's still in existence today. I still run the Ghost Finder Paranormal Society, but I have an events branch of that in terms of obviously a business model. Paranormal events is delivered by Ghost Finder Paranormal Society. So the same people that I've worked with for 2 decades still work with me. That's Phil Measy, Kate Ray, who you spoke
Yeah.
to recently, and a few others. And now, you know, my fiance Emma, she's in charge of me, really manages me, but she's also on the team as well. Exactly. So we manage. But she's also a budding investigator with a really good ability to sense and feel energy changes, fluctuations in an empathic way, which I find quite nice and reassuring. We work very, very well together, and she understands exactly what I'm about to do, and vice versa. So it's quite a good way of working. Actually, it's an effective system that we have. But my team are brilliant. You know, I've got so many investigators that I work with, and we're all friends. The key is we stuck together for 2 decades. And why is that?
Yeah.
Because we don't, I'm going to say this now, quite frankly, we don't bitch and moan and fight, and there's no paranormal politics involved. We're just people that get on well as friends. Okay. We understand the ethic, the ethos, the motivation. We want the same thing. And therefore, we pursue the same thing in the same way. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, because it was interesting talking to Kate yesterday about the fact that about the non-human entities, and you use her expertise when it's not necessarily going to be a spirit or a ghost. And like she blew my mind yesterday. And it's like some of the things she was coming out with, yeah, and yeah, the fact that she talks about that, yeah, quite openly because she's got this ability, and like it was mind blowing because like not many people understand that it's not just ghosts and spirits. There's many different entities that can be involved.
Correct. Yes. I mean, Kate is very well read. She comes from a background of the Fae and elemental energy, and I've used her before. Especially, you know, when I've been filming and Help My House is Haunted, I contacted her because she had a specialism with the Fae. And one of the cases I was working with, actually related to the world of pixies, pixies, however you want to call them. But that is a branch of the elemental world that Kate is so well versed in. So she's an excellent spiritualist, so has psychic abilities and mediumship abilities. And I've used her expertise on many cases where I've asked for guidance from a spiritual perspective. And it's
Right.
important because every case is different. As you said, and for those that are listening to this, there aren't just spirits that are intelligent, conscious human spirits or ghosts, which would be your residual imprint there. You also have your non-human entities, your demonics, your lower vibrational entities, your elemental spirits that were never human and actually are just nature spirits. And we're surrounded by them all the time. Now, obviously, not many people have come face to face with gnomes, pixies, or imps, or elves, or fairies, or whatever. But I believe that they exist. And I believe that based on the evidence that I've received through instrumental trance communication methods in certain different locations and in certain cases. So I'm very open-minded and I'm very open to that because I've experienced the fantastical. So, keep yourself open-minded and
For sure.
embrace that and look out for these things. If you do, you might be surprised.
That's right. And we do refer to ourselves as skeptics with an open mind, and that's most important. So you mentioned Help My House is Haunted. How did you go from GPS to then get a TV show that is loved by thousands and thousands
Wow.
and thousands of people?
We'll say a little bit of luck, pinch of stardust. Um, to be honest with you, I back in 2009 or 10, 9 or 10, I can't remember when. There was a company called Living TV that was back in the UK. They used to show Most Haunted, which was the popular ghost show of the day, and Most Haunted used to do a live program every year. So that was around Halloween. Well, that was seemingly benched, and they wanted something different and new. And I was asked if I would be interested in auditioning for a live paranormal TV show called Paranormal Investigation Live. Great title, yeah. So it was Paranormal Investigation Live. So myself, Phil, and a few other members of the Ghost Finder Paranormal Society at the time got the gig, and we did this live TV show in Scotland on Living TV. And that was the first television I'd done, and it was live. We were thrown straight into the deep end, doing something that was completely normal for us in terms, but not on television. But it was good. It gave me a foundation there to do more on television, I guess. And I suppose once I'd done the one thing, then I was always looked at by other people across the world to say, "Oh, well, Barry's been on telly before. Would he be good for this?" And that's what happened. Essentially, I worked a day job. I worked in education. I had a very normal job, a full-time normal job. I was paid quite well because I was a senior manager. But I also got an email around 2016 from Back to Back Productions, who are my production company. Back to Back contacted me, and it was an email to say, "Hey, look, would you be interested in a new paranormal TV show?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? Great." So I replied. I didn't hear anything back for almost a year, right?
Wow,
Seriously. Then
that's crazy.
all of a sudden, something just clicked, and it was like it all spiraled out of control. I ended up finding out that Zach Bagans, who heads up Ghost Adventures, wanted he was the creator of a new TV show. They were looking for specifically a British paranormal investigator, someone from Europe, a female preferably, and a psychic medium. And they'd come to me first. And now I said, "Okay, well, why me?" And they said, "Well, Zach's seen you and what you've done, and he thinks you'll be great." And I went, "Really? Okay, that's it. That's that." So it went from there to doing a bit of a casting tape, and I had someone come around and follow me with a camera for a little bit. Anyway, it was fine. I didn't worry too much about it. I wasn't totally like, "Oh my god, this is mind blowing." I just did what I do, I did it as normal. But I got the job almost straight away, and from there they wanted me to then pick the two remaining people for the team. And I was
Wow.
meant to lead this paranormal team on TV, and I thought, I don't know who to choose here, because they wanted this female paranormal investigator, but they'd had in mind Sandy Lakdar, who's a French paranormal investigator. Now, she had worked with Zach before, so I didn't really have much to do with that, because they kind of just said, Barry, what do you think? And I said, yeah, okay, fine. So I didn't really know anything about her. They
Yeah.
just threw us together. But they asked about a psychic medium. They said, do you have anyone in mind? And I pitched a few names. I won't mention that now. I think that would cause too many rifts and problems. But I pitched several names, and Chris Fleming was the one that they were most keen on, because he was American. He would help with that audience and that market, but he was also very well known, very good at his job, and Zach knew him as well. So Zach had final say. He was the executive producer of Series 1. So it was Chris Fleming, myself, and Sandy. We were thrown together, and within a matter of about 12 months from that moment, we were filming episode 1 of season 1, which, believe it or not, was at, what was episode 1? I think it was the cage in St. Osyth, Essex.
Oh
The
wow.
Cage was episode 1 that we filmed episode 1. I don't believe it transmitted as episode 1. And then we went to Chillingham Castle. So it was almost like I just started 2 weeks of traveling around filming these episodes. I didn't know. I just followed the lead of the director, and I did my job. And it just came together so well. And I was so enamored with the way Chris Fleming worked. I thought he was brilliant at what he did. I specifically liked his approach to trying to debunk things, to be rational, to be open minded but skeptical. And he also took what I'd already developed as a kind of skill, a personal skill, which was instrumental trance communication and electronic voice phenomena. He took what I did and he amplified it. I I just became a better investigator as a result, and I will always be thankful to Chris Fleming for that. And after that, it just became a bit of a whirlwind, and that was what 8 years ago. And now I'm here after finishing series 7 and another series now, and yeah, and we've helped. Well, do you know what? I worked out I've done 119 episodes of Help My House is Haunted.
That
Yeah.
is crazy. And it's really weird because, like, yeah, obviously I do my research about, yeah, what you did when you were 5 and this kind of stuff. And yeah, you type in Barry Guy. I don't know if you do it, you Google yourself, but it comes up as, yeah, one of the most, like, the biggest investigators in the UK. Do you consider yourself one of the biggest investigators in the UK?
Listen, I'm not going to even give myself any kind of title and stuff. I still stay humbled. You know what? I do my job. I love my job. I'm very fortunate to be able to be paid to do what I love. When I hear the word expert or Barry Guy is expert, I'm not. I'm just experienced, and I have enough experience to provide information and guidance to others. I believe that I've pioneered certain approaches to things, and I've helped to progress the field of what we do on and off screen. Now, lots of people would consider what I do to be just entertainment. Yes, of course, it's entertaining. It has to sell, otherwise, people don't watch it, and then there's no more Help My House is Haunted. So it's that
Yeah.
circle there. But I do my job, and I'm good at it, and I've helped so many people. I've helped so many people with all their cases that have truly taken their toll on me. What people do not understand, Lee, and I'm going to share this with you now so that everybody that watches and listens to this will understand, it is not just fun and games and me traveling around wearing a tactical vest and some torches and apps and voice recorders. It doesn't work that way. Every case takes a little bit away from you. It chips away at your mental health, it chips away your physical health, it takes a huge spiritual toll on you. So much so that I was ready to leave the show and hang up my boots 2 seasons ago.
Wow.
I had experiences that changed my perception. I've had experiences that have broken me inside. it's very difficult to talk to you about it, and I find I struggle all the time when I talk to people, when I do my paranormal masterclasses and I talk about my journey into this. It's a bit more detail with more anecdotes, obviously, time constraints, etc. But there are two specific things that stand out to me that have really just changed everything, and it is tough. I just want people to understand that it's not just for show. The stuff is real. It is genuinely scary. It is taxing to the point where it turns you into a different person. It really
Yeah.
does. You come home
And
and you take baggage with you.
oh yeah, and you mentioned about it being entertaining, and one of the episodes that's just been on over here in Canada is you running through the field at the farm, and it's like, oh no, it's chasing me, and it's sort of like, I've got tears streaming down my face. It's like, so
Yeah.
so when you are filming an episode, we only see an hour.
Yes.
So how long does it take from the moment you arrive to the moment you depart?
Oh, I'm going to ruin the magic of TV now, aren't I? 3 days. It takes three
Wow.
days to make one episode, and it takes 4 to 5 days to complete the episode in terms of traveling and logistics. So you can
Yeah.
imagine how many days I've spent on the road living with Chris, Sandy, Ian, and Jane. And the rest of
Yeah,
the team.
and like Emma's going, oh no, he's coming home this weekend. I haven't got any peace and quiet anymore.
Oh well, no, she gets time, she gets time away. But to be honest with you, I don't leave her alone. I talk to her every day.
Yeah.
As soon as I arrive location, I'm on the phone to Emma. We talk, and she really helps me through. It's a lonely world working in telly.
Oh, I can imagine.
It
Yeah, for
is,
sure.
yeah, it's lonely. You need your
Yeah.
loved ones. You need your family. You need the people that care about you around, because they keep you grounded for a start. They keep you
Yeah.
sane and they keep you safe, and you're loved and protected.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you've done more than 100 episodes. Do you have one particular favorite? Or not a favorite, one that's like the most memorable? Because I know there's been ones where you've been partially possessed. We know ones where we've seen you break down. We've seen ones where you've been chased through the field and everyone's crying of laughter.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the most memorable episode?
There's so many memorable for different reasons, obviously, as you've just
Yeah,
alluded to. There's memorable because they're scary, memorable because I've been attacked and it's changed me as a person. I don't want to talk about that one.
for sure.
Memorable. Oh God, I'm gonna. So there's one episode in series 5 in the oh God, where was it? I can't remember now. My brain's going blank. An old medieval house, Tudor house. Two guys lived there, Stefan and Peter, and we identified a young girl, and she wanted to be reunited with her father. And to cut a very long story short, the case was good. To me, it was another standard case of, we've got this female spirit, we've got this male spirit, we've got names, we had some brilliant evidence and validation, and then it came to the crossing over at the end. Ian he's doing prayer, and I had my eyes closed. Jane sat to my right, Ian sat to her right, and I just remember visualizing this little girl being reunited with her father. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like I'm just going to say it quickly because I'll get too emotional if I talk about it too much. I don't want to overthink it. So she was the little girl was reunited with her father, and as Ian said, yeah, like God bless you, amen. I heard this little girl's voice right next to me saying thank you.
Oh wow, that is amazing.
So I heard it as a real time DVP. I remember opening my eyes and I looked to my right to see Jane, and Jane had her eyes closed, and I thought, that's not her. It wasn't Jane. I just knew, and I know what I heard. It was as clear as
Yeah,
crystal. It was like the girl was stood on my shoulder, and she just whispered in my ear, and she went, "Thank you," and she said it to me, and yeah, it ruined me.
So
I, I just,
that's pretty amazing, and I can understand how you can get emotional with that. So let's make it a little bit lighter. A location that you've never been to that you wish you could go to, where would it be?
a location that I wish. Oh wow! Oh, there's so many. To be honest with you, I've done most of them in the UK, and there are places across the world that I do want to travel to. I want to investigate Alcatraz. I've always wanted to investigate Alcatraz. I like the idea of the prison system there,
Yeah,
and the fact that the notoriety that it holds, just to see who and what might well be haunting that location. The Myrtles Plantation. I've always been interested in that. Pendle Hill, actually, Emma's just mentioned. Pendle, I've never been to, and that's in the UK. So that's somewhere that I want to try and go to and investigate. And I might just go for a day trip and have a look around. But
yeah,
Pendle as an area. But also the suicide forest in Japan. Sounds morbid, I know, but it has a lure and an attraction. People go there for a certain thing. Why? What is it about that? Is it something to do with ley lines? Is it electromagnetism? Is it a pull factor? Is there something dark and demonic that work there, almost sucking energy in, i.e., human life forms? Anyway, it's just there's so many amazing places in this world. I'm never going to get to do them all in this lifetime, I'm sure, but I'm going to have a good go.
yeah. So if ever you come to Canada, let me know, and we'll make sure that we can involve you in an investigation
So,
in
where in
Canada.
Canada would you recommend, Lee?
So there's a few good places. There's two jails that are close to us. One's called Cornwall, but it's a town, not a county,
Yeah,
and it's called the SDG jail, and that's got some really good paranormal activity. I've had some really good EVPs there. And then the other one is it's the second oldest jail in Canada. It's called Lariginal. It's a French jail, but it's still in Ontario.
yeah.
And that's infamous for paranormal activity as well. To the point that when I went there to help a friend out do a public event, I'm walking around and I was in this particular room that was sterile. It had just been decorated, so there was no cobwebs, and I just got this nice little stroke down my face, and it's sort of like there's nobody around me, and it was like amazing. So those two places are really good. The mill we went to last night is yeah, is known for a lot of paranormal activity as well. So there are different locations, but the only problem that we have in Canada is a lot of these buildings are owned by the city,
Right.
so that makes it a little bit more difficult to get and investigate. But we do our best. But we are going to a small place in the US next month for my birthday. So my birthday's a little bit older than your birthday, but let's not go there. So there's three of us going away for a boys' weekend, and we're investigating there as well. So yeah,
Sounds
there's a lot
fab.
of
Now you have to
places.
tell everyone, Lee. So when's your birthday and how old are you going to be?
It's a big birthday. It's at the end of June, and
Yeah.
it's a big 60.
See, I
I
would
know I
not.
don't.
No, you don't. Honestly, genuinely, you do not look 60. But happy birthday for next month. All right.
Thank you very much. So your new toy that's I'm not going to say I correction it's not a toy, but it's your new baby. Let's talk about SpiritWave.
Yes. Okay. What do you
So
want me to talk about? Spirit Wave? Okay, fine.
tell you
Spirit
what, yeah,
Wave.
you're the guest, I'm the host. You talk about
I'm used to presenting, aren't I? So
yeah.
sorry, Lee. No, so SpiritWave is my brand new ITC application. It was only launched recently. We're talking March the 31st. It is available on the App Store. And that's for your iPhone products there, and also Google Play for the Android platforms as well. So SpiritWave is a way of communicating with spirit, exactly that. It has a huge database of electronic vocalizations, harmonics, phonetics, partial words, it allows spirits to manipulate this huge database of electronic sounds to communicate to us and with us. Now, here's the key. You might think, well, that doesn't sound like something pioneering and new, because there are other applications that are similar to that, which you've seen me use on television before. Well, here's the clinch. This is powered by the amazing Alice algorithm. The Alice box and the Alice ITC application is run by this program. Well, SpiritWave is powered by Alice. And as a result, we found that it has provided people with some amazing validations over the last month. I've had so many amazing anecdotes. I've had emails, messages, DMs. There's a SpiritWave Facebook group that I was set up in specifically for people to share their experiences and ask questions. As a bit of like, Q&As and stuff. Well, some of the stuff I've heard is absolutely mind blowing. Chris Fleming, he used it. He used it recently on his first investigation since his diagnosis with cancer, unfortunately. So he's well enough to go back out there. And he said, Barry, I want to use Spirit Wave. And I gave him a little demonstration, sent him the link. Boom. He used it. It blew him away. He turned it on as a bit of a test. And the first thing it said was, Chris.
Wow.
All right, the first thing it said. It also then started talking to him about his cats and other information that was relevant and pertinent to him and his situation. He then used it during the event with lots and lots of guests, and he had some incredible results. I think he posted on his story, in his Instagram story, an anecdote, to describe exactly what happened. He said it's mind blowing, it blew him away. But Ian Norman's used it. I've got other people around the world. Jane Harris has used it. Other people have commented, including other investigators, of how amazing it actually has been. I can't tell you. I know this sounds like I'm totally plugging my own app. I am, but I'm telling you this because if it didn't work, I wouldn't put my name to it. If it wasn't good, I wouldn't be plugging it. I don't want to provide the world with something that doesn't work and is meaningless. I wanted to invent something that was going to change paranormal investigation through the app market, because I have used applications to communicate with spirits effectively, as you've seen on Help My House is Haunted, as well as my more traditional methods of communication, which is through digital voice recorders and the means of electronic voice phenomena. But using ITC applications like Necrophonic and EchoVox, for example, but now SpiritWave, I am changing the way we investigate forever. And so have thousands of other people who have now started using SpiritWave. I know, speaking to you earlier, Lee, that you actually used it for the first time. So you enjoyed it, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, that's right. And one of the first things that came out last night when we used it in investigation was my own name, which is sort of like, no, it didn't. And like my colleagues going, yeah, it did. And because we was in a room that we thought there was a negative entity, we kept going like, leave, go. But yeah, if it wasn't as active as what I wanted it to be, but I don't know what my expectations were because it was the first time I've used it in an investigation. But my colleague's got it on his cell phone. I've got it on my tablet because I actually reached out to you guys to say, well, can we use it in airplane mode? And
Yeah.
I think Emma responded to me on the Facebook. And that's important to me because if he's turning on airplane mode, you've not got any internet. So you can't have the internet affecting SpiritWave. And last night was a perfect location in a mill with no internet nearby. It was on airplane mode, and I was still getting responses, and that was like impressive.
Now that's key to know as well, and that's why that Facebook group is so very important, because we can answer those questions from users that have downloaded it, not specifically paranormal investigators, but anybody who's downloaded it and wants a bit more information. The simple thing is to remember this: it's built, it's an application, therefore it's a program, it's a computer program. But here's the kicker: Spirits, I know, are able to manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum of sound, but they're also able to manipulate those electronic banks through the applications that we're using, through our phones and other devices. And I know this, we know this from look at the examples that have already been provided through evidence that yourself, myself, other investigators have produced. So with that in mind, SpiritWave has somehow managed to connect with spirit, or they've connected the other way around, and they found a platform for them to speak to us. It isn't a spirit box. It's not a radio scanner. It's not a spirit box in the conventional sense of an SB7, 11, whatever. It allows the spirit to select vocalizations, I guess, and communicate messages to us through some intelligent means. And I can't even tell you how that works because no one knows. SpiritWave wasn't just created by myself. It was my idea, yes, but it was created in partnership with Joanne Soul, who is the inventor and creator of the Alice box and the Alice application and algorithm, and the brilliant Matt Howlett, who from Voodoo Creative built SpiritWave. He's the designer. He's the man who put that idea and turned it into reality. And without all three of us as this sort of trio, it wouldn't work. But then you've also got Tracy and you've got Emma in the background there that have been supporting the development of this application properly for God a long, long time now. It's taken that long to put it out there to the world. But I'm so glad that it is there available now. People are using it and they're giving us rave reviews. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and this is, I'm going to even plug it even more because I've just finished teaching a course on paranormal equipment. And it was a 4-week course. First week was cameras and audio. Second week was monitoring equipment. Third week was pseudo. And I didn't use the SpiritWave in this lecture because the lecture was created a while ago. But when I do the next one, because we're getting all these fantastic results, I'm going to add it into the lecture so that this is the most modern, updated, verified app out there. So if people want to use it, then thank Barri Ghai for that.
Well, much appreciatedly, honestly. I will say as well, no, thank you so much. But if you can direct people to that Facebook user group, because there's a how-to guide, for example, that I put in there, and lots of really relevant posts to teach people. You don't just download it and press open. You have to press power, which is on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. There is a power button, all right? Important. Turn it on, turn the volume up, let it run. By default, it's set to settings and what would I call the response rates, for example, that we feel work best. As in, we know it's tested. That's the tested default setting. But play around with the sliders, play around with the frequency responses. The key to SpiritWave, which I'd love to just let everybody know, is that it was built with something called stochastic resonance in mind, which is adding a carrier signal to any other electronic sound in order to amplify and boost that signal. It allows spirits to piggyback off a carrier wave and a carrier signal to provide more meaningful responses across the electromagnetic spectrum of sound. And to do that, we've embedded their white noise as a slider control and also static bursts. Now, eventually, there will be an update, obviously, as all apps are, and it's free to those that have already purchased it. And the update will include new carrier signals that we're developing at the moment that we feel are best tested and work to provide spirits with a better way of speaking to us. So keep that in mind, and thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many times it's been downloaded?
Over 1,000 times in a month.
That is just crazy. That's really amazing. Okay, so we are coming to the end, unfortunately. I could talk to you all day. You're going to miss your dinner. I'm going to miss my dinner. We'll just talk about editing. We'll talk about football, whatever. Any final words from Barri Ghai?
Any final words? I want to thank every single person that watches Help My House is Haunted. Without you guys, we wouldn't be making more episodes and programs. So thank you all for your ongoing support and love for the program. We really do appreciate it. And I know you're in Canada and your listeners are over there in Canada and United States, etc., all worldwide. Thank you guys. There is, I don't know if you're behind by a season or two, but there's a lot more to come. And if you are in the UK and you want to join me personally for a paranormal event, which I will deliver myself, then please go to www.barriguide.com and join my Facebook page as well. And then you can, try to chat to me in person and find out a little bit more.
That's it. So the next time I come to the UK, we'll definitely have to meet up for a beer. Most definitely.
Sounds like a plan, Lee. Thank you.
Okay, Barry, thank you much for your time. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Like I say, paranormal royalty. I'm bowing down to you. You have a great rest of the day and thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you so much, Lee. Cheers. Goodbye all.